Thank you for joining me today. So, firstly, let's meet our players. So, what's your name, sir, and where do you come from?
Hello, my name's Matt, and I'm from Cambridge.
Excellent. Hey! All right, great. The audience will be engaged. I'm not going to go around you. My name's Dr. Dave Tarrant, and I'm from the Open Data Institute. So, we have developed the learning that you've been hearing bits about today that's online in e-learning. What I'm going to use this session for is to embarrass Matt. That's the whole point of this session. But also to have a little bit of fun with some of the learning that's in there, right? So that you get a little bit of experience, kind of the questions it's sort of asking, and the challenges it's kind of setting holistically for people. And we're going to do this as a series of quite fun quiz rounds. I'll try and keep track of who's winning. So we'll have the audience, if you'd like to get involved in the room. I don't mind, we've got a small group here, so we can do in-room versus online, because I've got Slido. So we're going to launch a load of stuff up on there. And obviously, we can try and embarrass Matt by seeing if we're know more answers than he does.
I think you're going to know.
Right, okay. The
first thing it's just statistics, isn't it? It's just statistics.
So round one is whose line is it anyway? Right. Okay. If people know about whose line is it anyway, it's that show where you set a challenge that is an ad-lib challenge. Okay, here is Matt. Okay, so we need to give him a challenge. So by the end of this session, Matt has to pitch you a new digital twin.
I have to pitch by the end of this session?
By the end of this session, I will come back to you. I'm going to give you a little bit more time than they get.
What's it for?
Well, we know what a digital twin is, right? Okay, there's the definition that we've been focusing on all day. You'll be selling us a brand new digital twin, right?
For what?
Exactly, good. Let's have some ideas from the audience. Okay. It is whose line is it anyway? Right, what kind of sector? You can't pick water.
Can it be the water sector?
No, you can't pick water. Any particular sector?
Consumer product.
Consumer product, and what kind of behaviour would you like twin? Tumble dryer.
A tumble dryer.
A tumble dryer. I mean, I asked ChatGPT to give me some ideas of silly digital twins, and it gave me back these, just to give you some. A foodie twin, it eats all the food you shouldn't. Okay. This is genuinely ChatGPT. An adventurer twin lets you pay the bills while it explores the world. Or a personal stylist twin, maybe the most applicable for Matt. A digital twin, the impeccable fashion sense. But those kind of things. So we're going for a tumble dryer. Yeah. Digital twin, okay? You've got to pitch it to us.
Okay, right.
At the end of the session, okay? Good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
While doing everything else at the same time. All right. Round two then. Round two is, I believe, blankety blank, if I'm not wrong, if I'm not mistaken. So, your digital twin is going to be sharing data with other digital twins. Now, this is something we've heard about a lot all day, which is we need to simplify this idea of how we share data, right? We've heard about data sharing agreements, licenses. There's been a lot, especially in the session, anyone in the session earlier where we had Pinson Masons and partners, etc., talking about the complication of them, right? So we need to complete a license terms and avoid the wrong answers for how are we going to share data. So here we go. These are the following rights I'm going to give you over data and any related restrictions. We are looking to enable an ecosystem of connected digital twins. So, Matt, you've got your data, and you're going to allow other people to, what can they do? You can do what?
Yeah.
You must do what? You cannot do what? Now, it's blankety blank, so you can go to the audience to get ideas for this one. Okay, so we're going to start with the you can. Do you want to go to the audience, to anybody? To get some...
Do I have unlimited audience participation?
You can pick 3, as we would do on blankety blank.
Okay, great. Okay, yeah, anyone from the audience want to help me with what can I do with my data? Let's keep it clean.
What can someone else do?
A drying machine or a washing machine?
I was going to make it both.
Okay.
Well, now you can link one to the other.
Could do, yeah.
So you've got a washing machine and a drying machine, and they share data.
So if Matt's publishing data from his digital twin, what can other people do with it? Yeah. That's the question. You can what?
Oh, I could say other people can access it.
Access?
Yeah.
Okay, you can have access in there.
I'm happy to go with that.
Yeah. Access. Anyone else?
How far is the access?
Oh, I've only got one word.
You've only got one word?
Right.
It's blankety blank.
Okay,
one word. Yeah. One word. Any others?
Analyze.
Analyze?
Sell.
Sell. Okay. Any others?
I was thinking you cannot sell.
Okay. Well, let's come on to the you must.
Restriction on that. Yeah.
You must, Matt.
Yeah. You must.
If someone else uses your data about your tumble dryer twin, you must. Lady over there. Protect. Disclose. Okay. Validate.
Yeah.
Credit.
Yeah, I was thinking about that one.
Excellent. Good.
That came up earlier, didn't it? Yeah.
Came up earlier, right? In that one. You cannot.
You cannot sell it.
Cannot sell it, right? You going to go for that one? Exploit?
It could be that, yeah.
Okay, well, let's have a look. Some of the right answers.
Claim
Okay, cannot claim endorsement. Okay, that's one. Yeah, I can't spell. I didn't ask ChatGPT. You cannot claim endorsement. That's one of the key ones, actually. I want to focus on that. Notice on the you can use, reuse, modify, use commercially. Yes.
You can you?
Well, how are we going to enable an ecosystem of connected digital twins if no other commercial enterprise can engage with your data?
I'm cool with that. I was just thinking about my washing machine.
So that's kind of one of the key points. That's a very serious point that actually restricts a connected network. Yeah. Is that if we don't realise that in the connected network we've still got businesses who will want to integrate data into their own.
I totally get that. I booked, here's a plug, I booked my train ticket on the way down with Trainline. There you go. So effectively they're selling
like, it's a business model, right?
It's a bit like HP printers, isn't it? That send you your ink. You're going to have a dishwasher company that's going to send you person.
Yeah. I love that idea. That was it. That was in my plan already, Paul.
So you must attribute the other thing you can have in here, share alike. So make it that other people, if they modify your data, improve it, actually share that benefit back. Famous example being Department for Transport, who released all the bus location data. We were talking about GIS earlier and knowing about locations of things, right? So that's a big core data set. Where are all the bus stops in this country? Turns out 8,000 of them were completely wrong, including in the middle of fields, never existed. Guess what happened? Well, the OpenStreetMap community came along and fixed the whole lot. Right? You talk about collective benefit of collaborating around data, and that's another big thing we're focusing on ODI. How do we get these data communities, data collaborations going to get the benefit of data? But you can sort of enforce it with a share-alike clause. You cannot claim endorsement. That's about the only one you can have in cannot.
Can you tell me more about what that means?
Cannot claim endorsement. So you cannot say that Anglian, to go back to your actual example, you cannot say that Anglian Water endorses me and my whatever I'm doing with their data.
Got you.
Because I'm not you, I'm me.
Yeah.
Right. So you cannot claim endorsement even if it's from you.
Just because you've used my data doesn't mean that I endorse you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only one you really can't have. These are the ones that you fall over and you shouldn't have.
Yeah. You can't claim ownership of the data either.
You can't claim.
No.
Yeah, and that's kind of already, as I say, that's already there in law already about copyright. Right. We're not changing copyright here by giving people rights over something. You're not saying we're changing the owner. Okay.
If I create an ecosystem flow between different organisations, I've got to rely on a different other parties in the flow.
Yeah.
So I kind of do need to endorse. We all need to endorse each other, otherwise we can't trust each other.
I think there's a difference here between trust and endorsement. I think that's one of the key things. But an endorsement could come. I mean, you could say, like TfL do, for example, where they actually list on their website apps that have been developed in the community that help different people. We were talking about the Australia example, right? The disability. That's one of the big communities that wants access to data to be able to provide services to those communities, because you can't possibly do all of that on your own, right? Because there are huge amounts of disabilities, not just wheelchair. Right? And so TfL, and I get back to the endorsement point, what they do is they recognize the apps that provide specific services to different disabilities and list them on their website. So that is then kind of their endorsement. It's going, here's our selection of the best apps that will help all the different disabilities that we, I know they're advertising TfL Go a lot at the moment, but there are a huge amount of I didn't say that. There are a huge amount of other apps that are better for different people that you can also find on their website. So that is a good thing to say, let's celebrate other people's successes around your data. And that is a good way of endorsing it, is to actually point to it and celebrate it.
There's a difference between claiming endorsement and providing endorsement.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you cannot use commercially, sell, misuse, misrepresent. All of that you can't have in one of these types of licenses. In misuse and misrepresent, it's subjective. Who says? And that becomes a problem legally. It definitely does.
Previous slide, you said you could do it. You could use.
No. So sell, misuse.
No, top line.
You can use, modify, use commercially. These are the ones you can't have. These are the bad ones. That's why they're in red.
Yeah, but on the top line it says you can use commercially, and on the bottom line it says you cannot use commercially.
No, sorry, these are the wrong answers. Can I be clear? Red, wrong answers. These are the ones that would be wrong. Yeah. Okay, so you cannot, these are the wrong.
Cannot misuse.
Yeah. These are the wrong ones.
Yeah.
You can misuse it, absolutely, right? But it's a subjective thing that you can't have in a license because you'll go to court and there will all be, like, who says, right? But you can't use it legally. That's a different thing from someone's perception of you misusing it. Because someone's use is another person's misuse. And that's why you can't really have that. I have seen countries put this in their licenses for open data. And of course, the developers and application developers run a mile because they go, the penalty for misusing is jail. That's what's written in here. The penalty for misusing is jail. So I'm not going to use the data at all because that's a subjective thing and I could end up in jail. So hence why. Great, lovely. Good work on that one. We had the usual contention around cell, which unfortunately if we're doing a connected ecosystem, everyone's still got to pay a mortgage. Right, okay, you have to consider it that way, you know. Cell is absolutely a thing, and actually it's what happens with a lot of data very first off. As soon as you release data, you get a load of aggregators that just take it all in and maybe change it into different data formats to get it to other people. And actually that's a big thing about what we've been asking for today, which is how about all those data formats? Well, don't do them all yourself. Let the aggregators take your data and then give them out to their communities in the formats they want. And whether they sell that as a service, doesn't matter. Bonus round, first one that we can do a poll on. All data on the web is open and can be freely used by anyone. True or false? This one's already launched on Slido. You don't have to in the room do this. I'm seeing what's happening online. True or false? I'll come to you in a minute, Matt. All data on the web is open and can be freely used by anyone.
Yeah, what do you mean by on the web?
So you found a data set on the web with a nice download button.
Yeah.
Open so you can use it.
Not all of them.
I sometimes find books on the web.
Yes. Okay, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not what?
Yeah, why not? Wait, so this is true or false?
I think that's false.
Yeah, so why false?
Because it's not all.
Yeah, copyright. We've just been talking about it, right? It's one of those fallacies, isn't it? It's one of those fallacies, again, I found this online, therefore I'll be able to use it. We're having conversations at the moment about, how are AI models trained, like ChatGPT? Are they copyright infringing and all the rest of it? Yeah, this is absolutely false, which is why the last question that I just put in there about the license terms is so important to give people the rights to use that data. So thank you for the 8 people online there, all going for false, which is good, right? We're not just going to go and scrape the web for the data we want without checking that actually we've got the rights to
So just to be clear, just help me then, just for my own clarity, because we have internal search tools at Anglian Water which crawl through content, but they can't get behind particular security classifications on folders, for example.
No.
Right? So that's the same with all these generative AI.
But the thing is about them is we're saying, like, if they're scraping the web...
Yeah, they're only scraping the things that are free.
Are they Are they actually abiding by the license terms through which the stuff is put on the web in the first place, right?
And all it takes is Reddit to say you can only access the Reddit tool.
It's one of those conversations at the moment that I think is going to become really interesting from a standpoint of, is there a society and social good in allowing services like that to be able to scrape? Because if you think about it, search engines have been doing it for years. Right, and the German media a few years ago tried to stop Google from scraping their websites and displaying the link. People remember this story? And it's kind of like, well, then how do people find you? Right? If you're not in any of the search engines, how do people find you? So there is an element of you've got to consider the social responsibility of saying, actually, maybe some of this is acceptable practice, but where is that acceptable practice, where that's boundary? And I think this is going to be an interesting thing for, again, some legal discussions around when is a copyright infringement a copyright infringement? And that's going to be really interesting. It goes back to the Ed Sheeran case from a few weeks ago. It has to be intentional. That's one of the interesting things. Yeah, as a copyright, I mean, everything's copyright protected as long as there's an intellectual effort in its creation. Okay, and that's actually really key. And you can't copyright a fact. Okay, many people have tried to copyright facts in the past. No, you can't copyright facts, but you can use stuff that's copyright protected if it's out of copyright. Anyone know how long copyright lasts?
70 years.
Plus? Close, 70 years plus.
The life of the originator.
The life of the originator. But if the copyright is transferred to the family and then on and on and on and on and on, like a lot of music is, never goes, never runs out. Okay, so it's like anything in terms of inheritance, because you can inherit property and there's a tax on that. What about digital assets? We seem to be in some areas where people can inherit them forever. So it might never happen. It's openly licensed, and that's the key one here, right? That's what we've been talking about. Putting the right license on it is absolutely key to building a connected ecosystem. That is the key to a lot of these sessions today. Unless it's covered by a copyright exception, the problem with them is that they change in law, not all the exceptions. It's then just, they go all over the place. One of the examples I like to give of this is it wasn't actually legal to record broadcast TV until the VCR was dead. Okay? So the law took that long to catch up, that the VCR had already died by the time that changed to be an exception. So it was illegal to record broadcast TV all while everyone had a VCR. Okay? Which, wonderful. I'm not going to do that one, don't know why it's in this. So there is a spectrum of rights. You've got copyright, you've got public domain stuff that's no right reserved, maybe used without permission, and then you've got things around, people come across Creative Commons licenses before, yeah? So that brings me on to then the spectrum of rights that you get under Creative Commons. So, attribution, which is the one that says, give me credit. Okay, so this is actually a legal requirement that you can put on something. I just want to emphasize that it's a legal requirement. Right? It's not, I'll do it because it's nice to do. Right? If you actually put data out with an attribution requirement and somebody doesn't attribute you, technically you can take them to court. Because it's a legal requirement. The legal requirement to share alike. Changes to the initial work permitted must share the new work under the same license. Non-commercial, that's what we don't want, right? Okay? This is one we don't want. Okay? The work cannot be used for commercial or monetary gain. That's the one we don't want. I have worked previously in university, when I was there, we did a lot of stuff that's very innovative, right? And you get loads of data sets, and while you're at university, you have this brain on you that says, oh, I'm not going to put it out there for commercial use. So you collect all this data, and you publish it, and you put it out under a non-commercial license, right? And then you leave university to go and start up that business. Guess what's just happened?
You've just cut your feet.
You've just cut your feet off, exactly, right? Because who owns the data, actually? The university, not you. Right, which means now you've got to go crawling back to the university. Genuine story, I know people who've done this. Had to go crawling back to the university, go, all that data that I collected while I was there, can I relicense it, please, and get rid of the non-commercial, because I want to build a business off of it. So it's one we have to be careful of, because a lot of people like to put it on, fall in that trap, but it's a trap. No derivatives. I mean, that means you can't do anything with it. Nothing at all. Not even combine it with anything. So another one is don't put that on data. So that brings me to round 3, which is Minesweeper. Okay, people remember the game? Minesweeper. So let's play it with licenses. Okay, what you've got to do here, what we've got along the top is all the different Creative Commons licenses and the same ones down the side, right? So what you've got to imagine is that we have got one data set from one provider, right, Anglian Water, and one data set from a provider in the audience, and we want to combine them. We want to combine them to make something new. So this is the license for your data set, Matt.
Right.
This is the license for the third-party data set. Can we combine them? Okay. Can you find me a grid square where you think you can combine the two, please? So we're playing Minesweeper, don't find a mine. The mines are where you can't combine.
Before we play, can I just ask a question about the non-commercial thing you mentioned?
Yeah.
A lot of innovation research is published under what we call research licenses or for purposes of research only.
Yeah.
And they're specifically licensed elsewhere. So
Yeah.
you have to then get agreement with the person who's vested in the IP.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get the license off, right?
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah. Because it's research only, it's non-commercial.
Yeah, that's fine.
But except where research might be commercial because it's a research company that happened to be a commercial company. Happens a lot in medicine. Right, find me a grid square.
I can't remember all the key.
Right, the key, public domain.
Yeah.
Okay, attribution only. Attribution share alike. Non-commercial, no derivatives. And then combine the lot. Right, attribution, non-commercial, share alike. Attribution, non-commercial, no derivatives. So there's your licenses. Find me a grid square where you think you can combine the two data sets. I'm hoping you start in one place because this is PowerPoint and I'm not interactive. And if you go somewhere odd, where do you want to go first, sir?
I think we'll go for
the top left-hand corner? Yes, good, excellent. Right there. You know how Minesweeper works. It reveals all the squares where you've done well and then gives you the how many things, right, that it can see. There's a mine in there somewhere, right? Okay, so.
I never played Minesweeper.
Okay, no. So these are the it can see. I think I've got some of these numbers wrong actually. This is a different old version. I have got some of these numbers wrong because this should be that it can see, because this is the number of good squares it can see.
Yeah.
Right. So actually, sorry, the number of mines is it?
Only the number of mines.
2, 3, 2. No, sorry, 2, 3, 3. Number of mines.
Number of mines. Yeah.
Okay, I need to reverse this. So 2, 3, 3. Yeah. That one can see 2, and then you've got 3, 2, 2, because it's reflected. Okay, so where are we going next?
Don't go anywhere. That's it. You've got to stop.
So there is one place you can go next. Where can we go next? Let me just check where I'm trying to get you to go.
Is it not? And then that one down there.
Actually, I think the next slide is the one that's correct. Okay, so let's do attribution share alike with attribution non-commercial. Can you combine those two? Okay, let's go for this one. Attribution non-commercial with attribution non-commercial. Can you combine them? Yes, because they're the same. Yeah. So there's your one. Okay, there's your one good one, which means that that one's a no and that one's a no on Minesweeper. Yeah. So the reason is that's under what license would you have to publish the subsequent work? Non-commercial. Yeah, absolutely, because you've got that restriction on both. So if I do that, now I've got it the right way around. Okay. Sorry, I didn't adjust the previous slide. So now it's the right way around. So you can't do those two. Okay. Okay, you can't do those two because the share alike actually overrides non-commercial.
No, that's it. You can't do anything.
I think the moral is, it's complicated.
It is, isn't it? It is, and I just wanted to highlight that. But now, as you say, you can't do anything, which means what have we got here? Just mines. So let's fill that lot in, because what have we got in this column? No derivatives, which means nothing. You can't do anything, you can't derive anything from it. So we can fill that out, and that's the no derivatives column, which means we've now got to fill in the rest, but we've got no clue. So my game of Minesweeper is kind of pointless because you've got to start again, right? Okay. So, but you've got no derivatives over there as well, so they're all X's. Yeah. Because there's another no derivatives and there's another no derivative. So it's just this awkward column you've got to sort out over here. And again, the more terms and conditions you put in your licenses and data sharing agreements, the harder this gets. Yeah. Imagine trying to do this for a legal agreement between two companies going, are they actually compatible? And that's what they were talking about in the session earlier. You can see how complicated this gets. And that's just with standard off-the-shelf Creative Commons licenses, which I would advocate people use. You can see the green square up there is the lovely land of compatibility, interoperability. Because it doesn't matter, pick any of them, they're all compatible with each other. Okay, so that's the lovely land of openness here that's nice and easy, keeps it simple. Over here, get a lawyer.
Public data and open data, if there is a difference?
Let's go into digital twin, whether it's a shadow or whether it's not. That's a conversation that's been happening today. But the only difference really is in the public data, public domain, people can claim ownership. That's really the only difference. So people have revoked their copyright. That's the only thing. That's the only difference. But people often talk about them interchangeably: public data, open data, public data. But yeah. Great. So well done. We did get the one. That's the main challenge. But you can see how complicated it gets, right? You know, when you're doing those kind of things. That's why they were saying on stage earlier, like, keep it simple, okay? Because that's going to be your main blocker to connect it, right? Round 4. Build a data spectrum, right? So we had a little bit of a talk about this earlier, and I think it was one for the built environment that we were looking at. So this is the ODI's data spectrum that goes from closed to open. Closed over here, I'm talking about data that is only available to you. Example, Matt?
Oh, I suppose it would be like account numbers. No?
Are we close? Account numbers for what?
Or my bank.
Okay, what's the thing that only you know and not the bank shouldn't know? PIN. No, PIN.
PIN.
Okay, so the extreme end of closed, we can go for the things that only you. Your thoughts, I don't want to know. Yeah. Right. Okay. At the other end of the spectrum is obviously open, so data that anyone can access, use, and share, which is what we've kind of just been talking about with that lovely green area. Anyone name me a data set that's open? No, because not everything on the web is open. We've just answered that question. Sorry,
just the front end of the web page. That's
no, because you can't use it. It might contain an insignia, a logo. You can't copy it.
Many cities have open data portals.
Yes. So, and what do they contain? Weather data is a lot of weather data is open. Okay, a lot of transport data is open. OpenStreetMap is go there. It says the clues in the title. Sorry. Bus stop, thank you. There we go, I did queue it up earlier. Yeah, so bus stops, all of this kind of thing, right? And the answer to that, people can build stuff on top of it, right? That's what we're seeing. Actually there was a lot of, we worked with the ODI with some bus companies early on, and we said, come on, publish your bus timetables openly, such that all these mapping applications and whatever else, right, can tell you how to travel around. In London, right, if you want to get from A to B in London, who today used one of those applications to go tell me what bus or tube to get on? Yeah, it's just Google, right? It's just there. Has anyone ever been to a different, even within this country, gone somewhere, or maybe a different country, you've got out the airport and you can see all this public transport infrastructure and you go on your phone and go, take me to my hotel, and it goes, get a taxi. Anyone? Yeah. Right?
There are other cities that do that.
Yeah, no, I'm saying there are plenty, but there are still cities where you go there and you're like, I want to use public transport, and you go to your normal app and nothing. And there's some kind of proprietary app of the transport provider that's only in the local language that you can't understand to get you around the place. But the same problems existed in the UK in the fact that we've been to bus companies and say, can you open up your timetable data? And they've said no, and we've said why? And they've said, we've got a KPI about how many people come to our website. Like, you get people on buses, right? It's kind of one of those things. And then you get the other buzzword bingo around opening up data, which is one of the ones we've also discussed today, is more about security threat. That was asked to you in the last session about what do you do about malicious actors who just want to cause harm. And again, bus companies saying, well, let's not tell people where bus stops are then just in case terrorism incidents. And you're just like, again, you've got to look at the balance of societal benefit versus those risks and weigh them off.
It's the funny thing about national infrastructure, isn't it? Because most of it is visible from space. Yeah. So most of it is visible from Google Earth. Yeah, but we do get very paranoid. It's understanding the bits that really matter.
Yeah. And I think, for the stuff you had earlier, I think the bit that matters to the public is, what's it going to look like to me? So to a disabled service or whatever. Yeah. The bits I don't need to know about is where the electricity cable comes in and where the plumbing goes. Yeah. I don't need to know that. What I want to do is go around the station and go, it's going to work. Yeah. And that's the public stuff as opposed to the non-public.
Yeah. So I was going to say that for the bus example, you don't want to publish how many people get on the bus at a certain time. Yeah. Right, that would be helpful. The fact that the bus is coming in 10 minutes and you want to get on it, that's helpful. Yeah. But, how many people are waiting for that bus? You definitely don't want to publish that number, right?
I mean, there are certain, but we're getting that with the rail networks now, where they're publishing how busy trains are. Yes. Right? So you can go to a station and you can get that information online now about which is going to be the busiest coach for pre-bookings. But it's just a very broad indication. It's not this is an exact number. It's low, it's high, that kind of thing. And interestingly, there was a project we did with Transport for London, again, looking at how do you establish how busy tube trains are. And a lot of companies were pitching the idea of putting cameras in to look at people and count them as they come on. That seems very invasive. And you go, you're going to spend a lot of money on that compared to what things do you have on the trains already? Do you have axle load, weight measures? They've got a load of sensors on the train already. Is there anything that can give you a proxy to the number of people? And I was glad to hear in one of the sessions earlier talking about that. So it came down to, we've got in the new tube trains, they've all got weight things that actually can give you the weight on each axle. That's a proxy of how many people are in the coach. That works quite well. Don't need to fit cameras and be invasive, so it works very well. In the middle of these two in the spectrum is obviously everything that is shared, and this is where we can get into some of those licenses around the particular restrictions. But let's have a look at the spectrum and what things fit in here. Anyone can access but can't use or share. The biggest category, these mountains do actually kind of represent the size and the overlap. The biggest category, data that anyone can access but can't use or share. Give me an example. Websites. Yeah, okay, going back to that, if it's not licensed openly, there's an overlap here because of the fact that some people put stuff out there and genuinely want other people to use it, but don't actually license it as such because they don't understand that bit and why it's important. So the intention is to put it out there So you get into this grey area of, you said, clearly your intention is for someone to use it because you'll put a big download button and encouraging people to use it, but you haven't actually licensed it. So there's a big category there, but the majority of this, as you say, everything else on the web, pretty much. Limited groups can access and use. Any examples?
Subscription services.
Yeah, or non-commercial, research only, those kind of things, where you might have to belong to a university to get access to that kind of thing, similar with subscriptions. And then known people.
Bank accounts.
Yeah, and it might, well, it depends how many people, do you know the people in the bank?
Medical records.
Again, do you know the people by name? That might be groups. Loads of these fit into...
The Netflix account.
Sorry?
The Netflix account.
Yeah, it might be, but it's who can access them, and because that could be, well, all of Netflix plus you. Remember, because you've got to talk about the company.
My shared bank account with my wife.
Yeah, it could be. But again, known people tends to also be thinking about it as, can you name all the people who've got access to that data by name, not by company?
Right.
Okay, think about it as when you do sharing on a document, are you sharing it by a group email or to a group or by individuals? So it's very similar to how we do a lot of this stuff, you know, when you share a doc. Right, the spectrum is extremely similar. So you can go, these people can access and edit, this group can access and edit, all these people can view but they can't edit, anyone can view, edit, do whatever. Right?
Spotify allows you to put in the known people.
Yeah.
Spotify allows you to put in
known people.
the known, yeah.
That's good. Yeah, yes, good. Absolutely. Opportunity and innovation, head to the right. You know, that's if we can get to open, right, and you know, and there's no ethical or legal reason why we shouldn't be able to get there. It's what's also known as the open by default principle. I think it's a thing that we don't consider often enough, which is, why don't we start with everything being open and then consider, is there any legal or ethical reason for it to not be? We often start on the other end of the spectrum and go, what should we open? What?
It's really interesting. It's great to have you dissect this in more detail. That anyone can access but can't use or share. What I've definitely noticed in national infrastructure is asset owner operators visualizing results, often geospatially because they think it's going to be helpful. So you can see the stuff that's going on, but you can't extract it, use it or share it other than taking a snip.
Yeah.
So actually you think to yourself, well, why didn't we go a step further?
Yeah.
Entirely get it.
Yeah, why didn't we go? I was thinking that with the Brisbane example earlier. I'd love to play that Unreal Engine. I can't afford to fly out to Brisbane though.
Yeah.
But I'd love to actually navigate around. And, you know, what if we didn't have to fly all the way to Brisbane to learn those lessons, but you go, here is the Unreal model that every country, including Africa and those countries who can't afford all that, can go and have a wander around and see how these infrastructure projects are being built.
Well, I think that's a great suggestion. I'm going to let Mark know that.
How do we open it up further than the experience?
Or at least a public copy.
Exactly.
Or at least,
and that doesn't have to be exactly the same as where is your energy, where's your cables coming in, but it could be this is the thing that's coming that people can.
That's just, sorry, that is actually just down to streaming technology.
Yeah.
That is accessible over the web.
Yeah, well, it will be. Yeah, it will be. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's giving
that's just the distance from Australia to here.
Yeah.
Would stop the experience.
But put it in the cloud.
I think it is in the cloud.
Yeah.
Is this slide open?
Yeah, of course it is.
Thank you.
Of course it is. The tool is open, it's all on our website, okay? The majority of this is all in the learning on Digital Twin Hub. Launch today, go to the main website, click the link, and it's all free. Free to the point where you don't actually even have to put in a login or name or any detail. So anybody can click on it. So that's why, partially the reason why people said earlier, do you get a certificate at the end of it? Well, we have no idea who's doing it. Because there's no need for you to actually, or anybody to actually register. So it's completely open, and we're not even asking for the trade of personal data to access the learning. Because that's also a thing that happens these days a lot with learning, is you first have to fill in all your bumming details. So the Digital Twin Hub and Place Passport said, no, can we get rid of that completely? So it is completely open. There is some data that's sent around in terms of you can resume your session in your browser, so there is data that kind of keeps up with it, but it's not associated with anything to do with you. Round 5, where are we going next? Oh yeah, okay, let's go to this one. Who owns the data about you? For some reason, I'm missing the black background on this slide, which means all the white text has gone, so I'm gonna have to read it out. Who owns the tweets you write? Who owns the tweets you write? Let's go for the poll is already in. We've got some people voting.
Right. Do I need to vote?
No. You're against the vote. So you need to see if you can beat them. Who owns the tweets you write?
Is it Twitter?
You're going to go for Twitter? Well, if I show the poll on screen, you've gone with the popular vote. Matt?
I would have thought it had to be Twitter because it's their platform. Unless you wrote it in a certain way that you had some kind of proprietary right to the words themselves.
If that tweet ends up creating some event in society, like a riot on Capitol Hill, who goes to court?
Oh, the individual. So Twitter don't want it. Is that what you're saying?
So who owns them?
The individual.
Correct.
Yeah, right. Could be either. Right, no.
Okay, you do.
Yeah.
Because intellectual property, if there is an original or creative effort in creating the thing, as long as it's not a fact, right, then you own it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we've all read the terms and conditions of Twitter when we sign up, right?
I'm not a member.
And what right do you grant Twitter when you sign up?
There's two words there. It's ownership and accountability and responsibility.
No, I'm going to come back to it. Give me pause. I'm going to come back to it. Talking about ownership, no, you own it. You grant Twitter a non-exclusive, royalty-free license to do whatever they like with your content. It's yours, but they can do whatever they like with it. And that's the right that you grant them by using their platform. And that includes selling it to third parties, putting your image on a billboard with your tweet. They can do whatever they like with it because that's the right you grant them when you sign up to the platform. Yep. Okay, it is the same. Now, the point about all this stuff at the moment that's happening around the social media networks taking responsibility for the content that's on them, right? It's actually the same, and I want to come back to an old analogy, which is a library. Okay, let's go away from the technology for a second and think about a library. Now, if you go to the British Library, recommend it, lovely building up on Euston Road, okay? Go to the British Library. If you search deep enough at the back of the British Library, you'll find plenty of offensive content. Okay? What the British Library won't choose to do is to get that offensive content off of the shelves and display it in a cabinet at the front of the library as you walk in through the door. Okay? And that's the analogy that you have to think of when it comes to the social networks. It's how are they choosing and accepting money for, or however they're doing, the promotion of that content on your feed. So they're responsible and they own the algorithms and the things that display things to you on your feed in a certain priority order. And that's the bit they're responsible for. Not the content itself, but how it's actually promoted. And it would be the same for a library if they started pulling all the offensive content off and going, here it is at the front of the library. So it's very different from what content is on there. It's how it is then displayed. Yeah. That's the difference. And Twitter own that bit. They are responsible for that bit. But you own the tweets you write. Okay, that is that one. Let's go on to the next one, which I'm going to have to remind myself what is. Can we go back to the slides, please?
What does owning the tweets mean in this case if they have all the rights to do whatever they want to?
No, you own them, so you're responsible if there's a legal problem with the tweet itself. Right, so if you're infringing someone else's copyright by copying someone else's tweet, your problem.
But
yeah, not Twitter's. Yeah, so you own the tweets you write, okay? So
they can use it.
They can use it because you've granted them that right when you signed up to the platform and pressed agree on the terms of use.
How does this apply to NFTs when people have NFTs on their profile?
Oh, that's a question I don't think I can answer. Okay. Who owns the data about you? Oh, that's better. It's black. Let's go to the next one then. Can we get to the next one? Hello, there we go. Facebook profile picture of you. No. No, you've got to think about this one carefully. Have we got the Slido down here for me? Thank you. Facebook profile picture of you.
Well, we've posted
yes.
the profile picture.
Yes.
So that's probably a difference, isn't it, than somebody else taking a snap of us.
Okay, so what's the key thing here?
It's us.
No.
We did it.
No, so you posted it, but I'm not talking about the posting of it, I'm talking about the picture.
Yeah.
So who owns the picture? The photographer. Okay.
Which could be you.
Which could be you.
Yeah.
So it could be either works for this one, but it's the photographer. Okay, owns the picture.
There's a weird one where a monkey took a photo.
There is, if you want to look that one up, a brilliant story. Have you not seen this, Matt? Okay, I can't show it to you legally. Okay, however, if you want to search on your phones for monkey selfie, okay, you will find a picture and one picture only that the monkey took of themselves.
Yeah.
So who owns the picture?
The monkey.
The problem is the monkey can't defend their rights.
Right.
Right. So this one went to court, and an animal charity tried to defend on the behalf of the monkey. Genuine story. I'm not lying. Okay. Because
some people have time on their hands.
This picture obviously went viral, and the person who set up the camera wanted to get some money for this viral picture. Right. So it went to court, and then the animal charity tried to defend the rights of the monkey, and the judge went no. Because the monkey can't defend the rights, and no, you can't claim ownership of the thing, so no. So that got thrown out, and then it became public domain. That was the ruling of the first court case. Second court case, the photographer tried to claim that because they owned the camera, they owned the picture. That doesn't work, because most cameras in production are hired. That doesn't work, okay? Third court case came through, and the photographers then said, I set the camera up with the specific intent of the monkey taking the picture. Right, and that's the same as the goal line cameras that you get at football. There's no camera person there, but the photos are still owned by the person who set up the camera with the intent of capturing the picture. So that's why I can't show you the picture, because it's now owned by the person who set up the camera. I'm not saying the photographer, I'm saying the person who set up the camera with the intent of capturing the picture.
So if you get someone else to take a photograph of you,
yep.
It's their ownership.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm not. Wedding photography? If you've got married, you've had a wedding photographer, right? Yeah? Who owns the photos? The photographer. What rights did you have to use them? Yeah, it depends on what the photographer puts in that piece of paperwork that I hope you blooming read before you paid them all that money.
Remember, it's such a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, I had a friend who fell into this trap as well, because they didn't read the piece of paper, and it didn't grant them a right to post the photos online.
Yeah.
Only granted them a right to print them.
So
yeah.
Sorry?
What about the consent?
So this is why we have data protection regulations, right? Because if I carry on with this, the list of bank transactions, who owns that?
The list of bank transactions.
Who owns the list of bank transactions?
Depends what it's about.
It's the list of bank transactions on your current account.
Oh, my current account.
Who owns it?
A company.
Yeah, which one? In this particular case, the collated list of all the transactions is owned by the bank.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So the point about this is very little of the data about you is owned by you.
That's really just made me think then. So I'm old enough and got married long enough ago that I had loads of disposable cameras on the table.
Yeah.
Right? So actually, I've got other people's property.
Yeah.
Because even though I got them developed, they're their pictures.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Oh.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it?
Do you know what?
But you put the cameras on the table with
the intent. Well, that's debatable. I don't think I did.
By the time they'd had a few drinks, were they monkeys? But anyway, you know.
That's how we're going to go viral.
I really, really hope that none of them go viral.
Certainly. But yeah, very little of the data
Why
about...
some of them were developed.
Yeah, very little of the data about you is owned by you. And that's why we have data protection regulations, to protect the rights that we have over data that is about us.
Yeah, this is complicated.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? But that's why
we should just do the simple thing. Just put an open license.
Just put an open license on it. Yeah. But again, the owner is the only person who can do that, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's the point. So, yeah, it's very little of the data that is about you is owned by you. So let's talk about personal data. Yeah, very little of the data about you is owned by you, but people have rights over data about them. And data protection regulations go a long way to giving the individual rights. The bit that they really lack is what's the societal right. Right, when does a societal right override an individual's right? And that is a part where data protection regulations are really sort of lacking, because they focus so much on an individual as opposed to a society, right? And that's the bit that at the ODI and a number of other organisations, we would like to see a little bit of evolution in this area, as opposed to thinking about going more closed. We want to think about, well, what's the societal right? Especially when you're talking about a lot of data like, is it just you in your Facebook profile picture?
No.
Exactly. So who has rights over that picture? Everyone in it.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. I didn't ask the other person.
Yeah, well, exactly. So everyone who is in that picture has rights over it. Okay? So we have to think about society and collective.
Yeah.
So
the person who pressed the button on a selfie and taken for the timer.
They set up the camera with the intent.
Right, the person who presses the button at the timer.
Yeah, yeah, it's the person who sets up the camera with the intent. Right, okay. Let's go into round 5 then. Personal or not personal, the phone number of a personal trainer.
Depends, doesn't it? Well, it depends what kind of phone number it is.
If it's just a number without any personal data alongside it.
Well, I'm saying it's the phone number of a personal trainer, so we're identifying it to the personal trainer.
Yeah, it depends if it's their personal number or their commercial number.
Well, it identifies them.
I think in what context?
No, it identifies them. Therefore, it's personal. It identifies them. Now, point about this is that not all personal data is the same. Right, in terms of we wouldn't go, if I said to you, can I have the number of your personal trainer?
Yeah.
Right, it's up to you to decide whether it is in their interest to give it to me.
Yeah.
Which is where the lawful basis come in. It is personal data, and you have to go, well, actually, it's in their legitimate interest, which is a lawful basis under GDPR, to give me that number, because it's in their interest. So, you know, number plate, your own personal car number plate number?
Are you talking about personal?
Yeah, the personal number, your own individual number plate number on your car that's registered to you. It's personal, but the point is, again, we come into the point. The point about this is a lot of data is personal, but it doesn't mean that it's closed.
Yeah.
Okay, because we put number plates on the front of cars because we have to legally.
Yeah.
So not all personal data is closed. That's something we have to get past when talking about personal data, because the instant thought is, oh, it's personal, therefore it must remain closed. It doesn't work for that. Okay, it is personal, doesn't mean it's closed. The political sentiment someone expresses on Twitter is correct. Sensitive. Right, it doesn't matter if you've sourced it off of a public platform. It's sensitive because you can use it to discriminate. It doesn't matter if it's come off a public platform. Okay, so that's the other thing. Just because it is public doesn't mean that you don't have to treat it under data protection regulations, which you do in this particular case. Okay, so yeah, again, it's that whole, it's not that easy. Okay, political sentiment someone expresses under GDPR is sensitive. Doesn't matter where it's expressed.
As long as the debate's about your name associated to the company and the company's phone number says it's your name, that's company name. Not GDPR.
The company number.
So your company number and the mobile.
The company number wouldn't, yeah.
If people always use that as, oh, you can't share that openly in GDPR, that's not GDPR restricted.
Again, you don't have to, please don't associate data protection regulations with the fact that data has to be closed. Data protection is all about giving people rights. That's the fundamental thing that it should all be about, okay?
Agreed.
It's not about hiding behind it to keep data closed. That's not what it's about, and hopefully those kind of things give you an example of where it's not about keeping stuff closed. That's not what data protection is about at all. Okay, and we've got it wrong if we do. Marketing budget of a commercial broadcaster, commercially sensitive or not sensitive?
Commercially sensitive.
Yeah, it's in their annual report, people. Okay? It's in their annual report every single year, okay? Which is, you you get the figures over departments and money. We publish an annual report, most companies do every year, and now those kind of numbers are in there. Yeah, okay, so actually not, And these are the kind of questions that I have asked to a commercial broadcaster, okay? And even the people internally have gone, oh no, we're not sharing that. And I just go, it's your annual report, there you go. Okay. So again, there's that fallacy again around things like this that are monetary, become sensitive, even though at the top level at board and management, they publish it every single year.
No, they might put cost of sale.
No, this was one that was, I'm just using this as an example. I'm not going to give you the organisational name, but the point about this one again is there's often misbelief over, There's often a misconception around more data in an organisation should be closed than actually your management say should be. There's often that disconnect as you go down the organisation. Again, this was talked about in the legal panel where they said it can become very clear at the top level of an organisation who's gone, yep, that's fine. And then as it drips down through the organisation, it just becomes more woolly and more complicated. And then the data that should get out there doesn't get out there, even though management said it should. And, we have to understand actually not all stuff is.
It comes down to your rights to give that information. So,
but that's your choice in this particular case.
So in fact, we have information that we know will become public in the future.
Yeah.
But we can't give you the marketing budget or the commercial budget before it's public.
No.
Right? It's only when it's announced in the annual plan.
Yeah.
Right? So it is commercially sensitive until it becomes public.
Yeah, and it can move across the spectrum. Yeah, and that's the point. These things can move. I agree. I agree that things can move, but often it's a very binary decision that organisations will make. It's very grey, but often people will go straight into, as has happened on the poll here, straight into the, well, that's commercially sensitive.
It's the thought process that you're really hammering here,
yeah,
isn't it?
It is. It's the thought. I'm afraid it is. It's that thought process.
Yeah.
An explanation of how an AI model makes a decision about someone. I mean, I'm in the land of ethics now, aren't I? Right? I am deep in the land of ethics now.
It should be transparent.
Yes.
It should.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that it is.
Yeah, and this is where regulations will have to play a key role, right? Explainable decision making. I'm saying makes a decision about someone, so that could be whether you get benefits or not. You know, these are decisions that affect people. And
depends what the decision is.
Sorry? You do, and that's where I'm going, and this is why at the ODI we focus so much on ethics. Right, it's a big thing about what we do at the ODI, which brings me to round 6, which is question of sport. What happened next? Okay, that's where we're going with this particular round. What happened next? I'm going to try and get through this one really quickly. We're going to release an almost real-time crime data set regarding reported crime. The data will contain date and time of a report, rough location, type of crime reported, and response. What happened next?
People went and beat up other people.
Okay. What happened next? We've released the data, it's out there. What happened next?
People ran down to the scene to take photographs so they could take ownership of it.
Again, so who thinks something bad happened next? Okay, who thinks something good happened next? Who thinks nothing at all happened next?
Probably a bit of both.
So these were all of the things that people considered at this point, like house prices rising in high crime areas and all of that. What happened next? Nothing. In fact, 2 years later, the police in the UK had an event called "Where Have All the Crime Apps Gone?" No one found any bad or good thing that it could be used for, other than the transparency of reporting crime stats. So it's still published to this day, but it didn't actually happen with anything. Anyway, let me skip on, because we need to get to, because I'm aware of time, we need to get to, key messages then. Your data increases in value the more it's connected. Key message. Right, that's what I want to really gamma home here, is that if we can put the right licenses on things and understand what data can be shared and where we're getting fears and barriers that are either properly founded in ethics or actually we're over-fearing something. Right? With that last example, a lot of people had fears, nothing happened. Okay, so we have to evaluate risks and actual likelihood of risks quite carefully, as opposed to just going, if I think there's one risk, we're not taking it.
Put a little asterisk, preferably not copied.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
More it's connected and not copied.
Yeah. So we have to avoid hoarding data. We have to avoid over-fearing data. And that's the ODI theory of change in a nutshell. I haven't got time, unfortunately, now to go through it all. We've been having too much fun, but that's fine. People want to come and talk to me about it. I'm sticking around for drinks, more than happy. But we want to avoid these two dystopias in order to get this balanced balance between encouraging and restricting how data is collected and used. And that takes openness and trust. Those are the two main things that we must focus on. Openness of data, infrastructure, standards, everything we've been talking about today at the summit. And it also takes engagement around trust. Right? How do people trust your project? And they're coming to community engagement. This example from Brisbane is brilliant for that. It's about getting trust so that people aren't fearing what's happening in their community anymore. And we've got to get to that balance between the two things. And that's why we've, very pleased to be working with the Digital Twin Hub to develop the 6 modules that you've got here. That if you want to learn more, because I haven't been able to go through everything today, they do take a holistic view on some of these conversations and will challenge you with some of the similar questions. So do put them out to your community, do put them out to your people, and hopefully as you go through them, we might be able to answer a few of them a bit better than we did some of them today.
I probably didn't score very well, did I? No.
Well, hopefully you score better next time. But they're all there for you. Please do take them back to your organisations and Get people
Very
learning.
good. Thank you, David.